Okay, let's get this started. Yeah, kitty. So, I don't actually know if this is going to be a good idea, but it was an idea I had, so I'm going to give it a try. Basically, I wanted to go through a bunch of work by a game designer called Kitty Horrorshow. Most of their games are released online, or as far as I can tell, pretty small games released for free. Excuse me. And then they have a Patreon, which is where they get most of their funding. And then there are some games that are some games that you can pay for. So I'm just gonna sort of go through everything, and I have the just my desktop up here because I know at least one of the games of theirs that I've played. Things like the menu file system was like part of it. They make a lot of horror games, but they have sometimes this like glitch aesthetic. So, yeah. So we'll see how this goes. Like, if it's good, then I'll keep doing it. And if these games are just not very good games to stream, then I'll probably do this on my own time. I highly recommend, I always joke about smashing that like button, but I highly recommend supporting Kitty Horrorshow on Patreon or buying their games if you like anything that happens tonight. Okay. So, I'm going to also pull this over to show their itch.io page. And also to show, so Howling Halls Volume 1, Here's Where I Carve My Heart, and Sigil Valley are all... Howling Halls Volume 1 is music, and it costs money, so I'm not going to do that. These two say play in browser, but they're both using Unity, and like, man, making in-browser Unity work is just a nightmare. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to start up here at Sunset Spirit Steel, the story about sculptures. This was created in March of 2015, and the reason why I want to look at that is that a bunch of the games at the top here called Haunted Cities are collections of smaller games that Kitty Horrorshow put out originally to Patreon backers. And so, if possible, I want to try and sort of zigzag back and forth so that I'm playing all the games in chronological order. I'm always going to read readmes because, again, like sometimes the readmes are things. Okay. I said mouse to move, space to jump, left click or E to interact. All right. That doesn't seem strange at all. Let's see if we can just run this here and see if the capture will just pick it up. Maybe. That looks good. Yeah, we'll play it in windowed mode just because. Oh, if it's gonna be, I didn't change the size. Let's. Excuse me. We're gonna try not running in windowed mode and see if it breaks everything. Graphics quality red. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Interesting. Yeah, I honestly, like, I've only played one of Kitty Horrorshow's games, and it's one of the scariest games I've ever played. So I have no idea what to expect. If it says this is about, what about sculpture or something? So I don't know if this also will be a horror game or what. One of the things that I'm worried about it not being good, this being a good designer to stream specifically, is if they're all sort of these lonely thoughtful or scary games that, like, it doesn't actually make sense for me to keep sort of a running commentary in the traditional streamers what's up guys style, you know. So I mean, I'll keep at it, but I will say that I'm deeply skeptical. Ooh, bit of an acceleration there. Huh. Alright. Don't know what that means. Don't know what this object is that spins faster when you're near it. Ah. Yeah, gosh, this is much harder when I'm like trying to lean into the atmosphere, but I don't know what the game is about. So like I don't have. It's like, oh, there's. Is like, is the fact that we're surrounded by this wall. I'm just gonna have to assume that's both like a technical limitation and an intentional design. From playing one of Kitty Horrorshow's later games, like there's definitely a blurring in that case where they were definitely doing some intentional things with the technology. Um, Definitely doing intentional things with the technology, uh, not just limited in their sort of technical design ability. But this is like their third or fourth game, so I don't know. And change color, or is that just red? Okay. Well, if I'm supposed to be unsettled, consider me unsettled. And in general, like, I don't mind, for example, like this texture, right? It's like very very low quality texture, right? But I think that's fine. I think there's been plenty of examples in sort of the game corpus literature, I don't know, that show that texture quality should be one of the things used to evoke a theme, not just to look as pretty as possible. That's not good. I'd call that a big yike. Alright, alright, I'm scared. Just a little. I am playing with headphones so I can hear sort of what the mic's picking up, but then over-ear headphones so that I get a better audio experience. And it's working. Ooh, I hope falling isn't a thing. I feel like I've mostly explored this space now. The other game that I've played sort of definitely was a much more directed experience. And so something that I just realized is I don't know how to tell if I've completed the game. Well, that's a good directional sound. Huh. Yeah. Well, don't know really what to say about that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call this finished. Um, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Let me add a marker in here. Yeah, we're gonna just try something different because I really like the sort of thoughtful nature of these games, but they really don't lend themselves to uh, like a pensive. Sorry, the experiences don't lend themselves to sort of the constant commentary, interacting with viewers that happens in a stream. So. All right, let's try a game that will make me feel something different. I haven't opened this up yet, so thanks, team. We're kind of pulling a mulligan here. What are we doing? We dropped any frames? We dropped frames, nice. It's nice having an actual stream computer. Turn that volume down. Oh. So I wanted to play this game for a while. It was suggested to me by my friend Andrew as well. But woof. Okay.
Oh no.
Good start. Yeah, I know it's going to be this like sort of very frustrating experience, and I'm kind of interested in that. I've listened to a good interview with Bennett Foddy about the game and sort of his design philosophies. So we'll see how much of this I can get through. Honestly, this is another one that I might end up sort of putting in the bag just because. Let me try changing the sensitivity. Until I have a better mouse pad. Okay. That should be good. Oh boy.
There's no feeling more intense than starting over. If you deleted your homework the day before it was due, as I have, or if you left your wallet at home and you have to go back after spending an hour in the commute. If you won some money at the casino and then put all your winnings on red but it came up black. If you got your best shirt dry cleaned before a wedding and then immediately dropped food on it. If you won an argument with a friend and then later discovered that they just returned to their original view. Starting over is harder than starting up. If you're not ready for that, like if you've already had a bad day, then what you're about to go through might be too much. Feel free to go away and come back. I'll be here.
The thing is like, you know, there are games like Dark Souls or whatever that like, is like, playing this is not actually that frustrating to me. And I think that would still be the case even if I lost sort of like an hour's worth of effort or whatever on the flip of a hammer, as it were. What is frustrating is that like getting my mouse sensitivity to a place where I'm comfortable. So I'll stick with it for a while, but now this is a place that if you've ever watched any YouTube videos of this, you should be intimately familiar with, because this is about as far as the median YouTube video gets.
Alright, thanks for coming with me on this trip. I'll understand if you have to take a break at any point. Just find a safe place to stop and quit the game. And don't worry, I'll save your progress, always. Even your mistakes.
No, what? Yeah, that was literally just me running out of room where my mouse is on the desk. Like I need to be able to make these circles, and like I just barely have enough room to do that.
This game is a homage to a free game that came out in 2002 titled Sexy Hiking. The author of that game was Jazuo, a mysterious Czech designer who was known at the time as the father of B games. And B games are rough assemblages of found objects. Designers slap them together very quickly and freely, and they're often too rough and unfriendly to gain much of a following. They're built more for the joy of building them than as polished products.
I also have my cat with me. Bastion. Oh, nope. Oh. That's a big mistake.
You just lost a lot of progress.
Nah,
That's a deep frustration, a real punch in the gut.
I'm not... Yeah, so clearly I need to, yep. I need momentum there to... Also, I think the world record of this is like under 2 minutes, something like that, something absurd. Obviously, they're doing
Oof, sorry about that.
weird skips. So I've seen like pretty deep into this game. I haven't seen the end. There's definitely a place at the end where it asks you whether or not you're streaming before you continue, in hopes of like shaming you that like you did all this, like shouldn't you really have everyone else suffer through this if they want to see the super secret ending or whatever. And like I'm sure that doesn't work, right? Like it's a I don't know how many people have downloaded this game, but you know, if it's like 1 million or several 100,000, like you just can't win that prisoner's dilemma. But I certainly haven't looked myself, and I think the kind of person I'd like to believe that the kind of person who would actually want to play this game to completion like wouldn't spoil themselves. And so like the secrecy of it is not like a stopgap against anyone learning. Nah. It's not a stopgap against anyone learning. It's a stopgap against like the kind of person who might actually stick to it, who like is watching a Let's Play and is like, oh, I might actually want to play this. That even if the person they're watching doesn't abide by it, they might stop watching when they read the disclaimer, because like they want to experience that for themselves. Yeah, I just noticed that you don't have to...
Oh, it happened again. Keep on trying. Don't let it get to you.
Honestly, the most frustrating part of this is that like I'm not frustrated at all about like continually doing this. Though I have a feeling it'll start to get to my wrist without a proper mouse space. It's that like I assume these Bennett Foddy's like putting his, you know, it's okay, don't worry about it, or ooh, that's gotta hurt. Like, how much of that is... I assume most of that is actually him just being like, maybe a friendly word actually would help someone who is really angry at this point and loses a bunch of progress, because other than a speedrun, I've really only seen, like, sort of the start of this mountain ascent, and for pretty much all of it, like, there are points where you can fall all the way back down here, so, but, like, man, I am nowhere near being annoyed at this game. So, like, the most annoying thing about those is like, you know, is my... Do you think my constitution is so low as to need encouragement at this point for you
This
know,
thing that we call
a
failure
minor
is not
setback.
the falling down, but the staying down. Mary Pickford.
Cause like, I mean, first of all, this music's great. And like I'm gaining sort of acuity with the interface, such as it is. I did notice that what I previously thought with the house that you had to build momentum to get across it. It's rather that like when you're right at the edge of the roof, you can hook on the top part of the roof, so you don't have to know how to build momentum yet in the game. So that's nice. It's nice to falsify that. Certainly, this game, you know, lends itself better to just casually talking while playing than the sort of, you know, experimental nature of the early Kitty Horror Show that we played, where like you know, it's like there was some kind of world building there.
Going down the road feeling bad. I'm going down the road feeling bad.
Man, it's like I can't even.
In a certain way, Sexy
Okay.
Hiking is the
I was gonna say, I
perfect
can't.
embodiment.
Music
of
is an
game.
absolute banger.
It's built almost entirely out of found and recycled parts.
Okay.
And it's one of the most unusual and unfriendly games of its time. In it, your task is simply to drag yourself up a mountain with a hammer. And that act of climbing, in the digital world or in real life, has certain essential properties that give the game its flavor. No amount of forward progress is guaranteed. Some cliffs are too sheer or too slippery. And the player is constantly, unremittingly in danger of falling and losing everything.
Yeah, so this is the first level up, is that you are not okay. Is that you're not tall enough to be able to just line that up however you want. I wonder like when that music, if it just plays, you know, the next time you have a big fall, because that was an absolute banger. Okay. Yep.
Oh no.
Yep. Good to know that coffee cup was not a climbable surface.
The soul would have no rainbow had the eyes no tears. John Vance Cheney.
This game's great. This game is truly great. Take out one of my mic earbuds, so they hurt a little bit with the other headphones over them. I don't feel like having a real sound setup. In lieu of a real sound setup, we have my double headset plan. Yeah, see, like, there's definitely this, like, sort of optimal sort of swing strategy, especially for this early stuff, in a way that, you can see it, like, setting up for true heartbreak later. It's great. It's just great. Not to mention the fact, like, you know, I talked about how this game doesn't, like, I would probably have to be playing this for several more hours before I'd actually start to get annoyed by it. Ooh. But there's something to be said for releasing this game in a game culture that, like, to some extent, you know, the latest release of an indie game is driven by the advertising of streamers playing it. And, like, this game definitely, like, plays to the strengths of that crowd. No.
The pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. That's the deal. C.S. Lewis.
I'm not sure I agree with that, C.S. Lewis. But, you know, you're like Markipliers and Jacksepticeye's and I don't know, like that whole crowd, like everyone who on the day this is released had a YouTube video up, probably with a thumbnail of like them making a big O face or with fire behind them. Perhaps their face, you know, this person, the model of this guy in a bucket, and then their face, crazy face over him, right? So it's them. YouTube algorithms, man. But yeah, like this is the kind of game that's perfect for that, because it's like, what? No! No! I've lost fuck this game! I mean, I guess I probably don't swear, but whatever. I mean, they could. I honestly, like, you know, I watched Markiplier video. I'm trying to figure out, like, oh, who is that person in the music video for Danny Doesn't Know that all the kids are talking about? But that's a bad idea. This is a bad idea. Can I do that? Will that? No. Back this way. See, like that, I did not have room to make that maneuver. And I did not finish it because, oh boy, because my, that's that.
You can hit the escape key if you need to change the mouse sensitivity.
No, I think there's a good sensitivity. I just
feel
need
within
more
me
room.
a peace above all earthly dignities, a still and quiet conscience. William Shakespeare.
I actually, like, I am kind of excited to come back to this with sort of my stream set up a little bit different. Oh, I have someone watching. Thanks, Eric. Yeah. And you want me to turn on my camera so that you can see me go, "Wah! Unbelievable!" Ah. I mean, I'll play this probably for a little bit more, but like, honestly, like, I do not see myself sort of getting frustrated in an entertaining way to this game. I just don't. Like, maybe, and I'd like to note that to some extent I did I was working on that, right? This wasn't just all happenstance. And I don't mean working on being unflappable, I mean the opposite. As soon as we switched over from...
You cannot now believe that you will ever feel better. But this is not true. You're sure to be happy again. And knowing this, truly believing it, will make you less miserable now. Abraham Lincoln.
That I started drinking Centauri whiskey as soon as I switched over to this game, because I figured it would help me put me in a good angry mood, or at least be more free-flowing in my reactions, right? A little less reserved, as is my normal. But yeah, I'm just not sure. Like, so far the angriest I've been is that, like, every single time I fall a big amount, he sends me some sweet quote. Or some... Honestly, so I was saying I'm angry because it's like, yeah, I'm going to fall a lot in this game. I don't need, like, a sweet quote every time I do it as a reward to keep me playing. Though more of this sort of banging music is I'm okay with. I was actually really sad that I lost at the music I lost, where I had the other track that was great, and then I hit a new zone. And so he started talking to me again. I'm just like, I just want to hear more of the music, man. I understand you're doing a thing. And I'm sure that this, like, first bit of space is sort of way more engineered than later in the game, because you're probably spending, like, not only are you spending a bunch of time down here, but it's likely that, like, there's a significant fraction of players who, like, will never see anything but this, you know? I mean, that's true of all games. If you look at, like, what percentage of people finish games, and this isn't even an especially long game, but it is, you know, frustrating. It can be. You can spend a dozen hours on this or more. Where it's, like, under 10%, even for, like, super duper popular games with stories that most people would agree are pretty compelling, and then, you know, characters they care about and want to learn the endings of. So hopefully, as I get, like, sort of way higher in the strata, either the density of this stays the same because, like, that's what he, you know, he recorded this much or whatever, but if I had to guess from, like, a design perspective, I would guess that as you get higher, like, he sort of rewards and punishes you less with extra text because, like, you spent so long scaling that, like, at that point, everyone who's still there is doing it because the mountain's there. They're not doing it to hear the next audio log, you know? I'm sure there's a metaphor I can make to my 2.5-hour witness talk from this. Okay, so we're back at the highest we've ever been. So let's take stock. So we probably want to be up on this barrel. Okay, nope. Oh boy.
Anyway, when you start sexy hiking, you're standing next to this dead tree that blocks the way to the entire rest of the game. It might take you an hour to get over that tree, and a lot of people never got past it. You prod and you poke at it, exploring the limits of your reach and your strength, trying to find a way up and over. And there's a sense of truth in that lack of compromise. Most obstacles in video game worlds are fake. You can be completely confident in your ability to get through them once you have the correct method or the correct equipment or just by spending enough time. In that sense, every pixelated obstacle in sexy hiking is real.
Yeah, I mean, that's a philosophy I can get behind. What do you mean, am I trolling right now, Eric? You're gonna have to explain yourself. I don't think so. But maybe.
Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Mary Fry.
Alright, Mary Fry. Oof. Oh, that's a better place to be. So we're going to be about here. Oh, yeah, Eric. I like the idea of the audio quotes like supposed to be intentionally annoying. Like I think part of it is that my uh like the sort of amount of bullshit, I guess, that I can put up with in a game is like pretty high. And I don't have a great model for oh boy. I don't have a great model for like the median player, what that is. So like I don't know, do people hear like every time they fail that they get a piece of content, like do they hear that as mocking? I honestly like I couldn't say. I guess probably. I don't know. But like I don't know, I like the music and uh you know, I mean, I liked most of the audio logs in The Witness, right? So like that already puts me, I feel like, in a rarefied place in regards to like what additional content I'm willing to put up with in a game. Okay, so this place is horrible. I assume I can't really remember. Eric says he's watched a fair bit of gameplay, and everyone he's watched has grown to hate the audio. That's fair. So I'm not sure. I can't fully remember, so I'm not sure if there's. I know there's a place where there's like a thin cave you have to go through, and I'm not sure if they go over there and then back over here. Yeah, okay, that's what it is. I go over here, back over there, then up, and then the cave's above that. But this is like the first, like, you know, if someone's making a 15 to 30 minute YouTube video, that cave up there is where the game ends, or right about here, because you need to go over there, you need to jump over here, and then from here you need to climb to the next spot, but you can climb over this rock formation and fall literally all the way back down. So, and you know, there's, I think most people that would like take some wind out of their sails. I still haven't cracked this. Yeah, Eric, I think it's probably true that most aspects of this game are intentionally trying to frustrate you. Like this control scheme is literally bananas. That like I'm just moving my mouse around, and that like based on how, oh boy, come on, that based on where it is here, that I'm like moving it in specific, oh boy, moving it in specific directions to sort of reel myself in. And or like push myself off, like yeah, like it's definitely coming from a long tradition of like I mean from like QWOP, right? QWOP, and then there was a climbing one, there was a swimming one. Was Bennett Foddy involved in QWOP? I feel like that's a thing that I know, but I could just be making it up. But I feel like QWOP really started something, and there was like a whole genre of game that came out of that. So like Surgeon Simulator and I Am Bread. These games where you got like a lot of very tight controls on a mechanical system, when what you wanted was just the ability to sort of at a higher level direct your avatar in a specific direction, and the game was saying, no, here, have the specific mechanical controls, figure it out. Learn how to do this new thing. And in some cases be very frustrated by it, like in this game, but also like be amused by it, right? That's funny. Funny and frustrating. Thanks, Jen. Come on, kitty. And I think this definitely leans on the like more frustrating than funny side. Oh man, that was almost real good. Whoa. Okay. So there's probably, I might be able to do that, but I need to swing in the other direction if I want to. Let's see if we can do it here. Let's go more this way. It is interesting to me. This is like, I mean, I don't do a ton of climbing, so, like I did a little bit of it in college. So correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, because I know you do climbing and bouldering a lot. But like, this does feel a little bit to me like actual climbing, where like I'm trying to figure out sort of what I'm capable of here. That I'm like plotting my sort of immediate route just ahead of me. Okay, so like that's not going to happen. That is beyond my current capability. Which means that I need to go over there. Can I just push over there? Alright. Yeah, so now I'm in sort of the danger zone. Reel it in. Push it out. Yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Damn it. Yeah, it felt to me like a creative boulder problem. But, you know, I've only done at most a semester of climbing. So. And most of that wasn't, like, creative climbing. Like, we didn't get good enough at it where you're, like, looking at a wall or whatever and doing a lot of strategy, right? Or low-level tactics. Oh, ice climbing with axes. Yeah, that does sound like it would be closer. Especially the part where you have to spin your axes wildly. Okay.
The obstacles in sexy hiking are unyielding, and that makes the game uniquely frustrating. But I'm not sure Jazzuo intended to make a frustrating game. The frustration is just essential to the act of climbing, and it's authentic to the process of building a game about climbing.
Come on.
A funny thing happened to me as I was building this mountain.
No.
I'd have an idea for a new obstacle, and I'd build it, test it, and it would usually turn out to be unreasonably hard. But I couldn't bring myself to make it easier. It already felt like my inability to get past the new obstacle was my fault as a player rather than as a builder. Imaginary mountains build themselves from our efforts to climb them, and it's our repeated attempts to reach the summit that turns those mountains into something real.
I'm just doing some creation here. I believe he's called DeWinky. Okay. So now we're coming on new territory. This is actually a lot of fun. And obviously I haven't suffered like a catastrophic setback yet, so we'll see if it continues to be. But
When you're building a video game world, you're building with ideas. And that can be like working with quickset cement. You mold your ideas into a certain shape that can be played with, and in the process of playing with them, they begin to harden and set until they're immutable, like rock. And at that point, you can't change the world. Not without breaking it into pieces and starting fresh with new ideas.
Do not swing willy-nilly. So I think I can hook on those lights. I need to like draw in a little bit. Have I seen any of the deeper parts of this game, says Eric. Have I watched other people? So the only thing I've watched basically past this spot right here is I've seen one of the AGDQ speedruns of the game. And even that, it's like I don't have a memory of it. So like I'm pretty sure there's a time later where there's like no gravity or something, right? Like you're out getting towards space or something. I know there's something with like a bucket or an ice cream cone or something that's used as part of like a skip, where like you shouldn't be able to launch off of that. but it's only in the place like the first time, so like you can miss it. But like I don't have any distinct memory of anything past sort of this area, because most like YouTubers that I've watched cannot get past this area, or they get past this area and they immediately fall down, and then like the video ends with them screaming. So yeah, no, this is an exciting area because I can't do what I've done in the past, which is mostly just like once you get a nice sort of good flail going, nice rhythm on that, then you can just sort of loop around. I don't think that's possible here. There's not enough room, and oh boy. Okay. I do think it's possible that I might stop streaming for the night after my first sort of catastrophic setback. Like, not because I'm finding this frustrating, but more I'm concerned sort of with my ability to continue to be interesting when most of the thoughts that I have about any given area, like I'll be saying on the first few times I'm through it. And like people who watch the video like don't get the additional entertainment of me being like frustrated as hell. So I think it'll be better sort of if I take this in like chunks when I feel like it. Certainly the next time I'll try to get an actual sort of mouse pad and area, as opposed to my mouse like on my desk, crammed in between my second monitor and my recording rig. Because that's just not working for any of this like delicate hoopla. I think I can hook off that light. It's just figuring out how. I wonder if I'm all the way at the top of... Whoa, boy. That was almost a very big mistake. I am very close to making a big mistake right now. And if nothing else, like I'm in the middle of building a miniature for Kingdom Death Monster, and I took a break to let some of the cement set and grab dinner, and I can just go back and like keep working on that.
You've done this part before. You know it's possible. Just do what you did the first time.
See, like that's a little annoying because like for most definitions of this part, I haven't done it before. You know, it's like I've briefly gone into that crack area, but I haven't actually moved up that area at all. So it's not actually that encouraging to say that, like, oh, you've done this before. I'm trying to think of like the last time a game like deeply frustrated me, actually. Navigate you. Oh, that is a good distance, Bennett Foddy. I'm trying to latch here, push against the side of the wall, and then pull downwards while slowly reeling myself in. That is not working. The game's physics do not support that. I don't know if you could see my cursor just slowly or quickly splashing all the way down and then back up, but do not trust that. All right, we'll try push off followed by a hook. Okay. I think some parts of Dark Souls maybe frustrated. I don't know though, because I had watched a decent amount of Dark Souls before the first time I played it. And the person that I watched sort of first was K Plays, who doesn't stream anymore. She streamed, that was probably like 5 years ago, and she was just like the most sort of methodical streamer. Like, she literally started playing Dark Souls because she played Borderlands with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend, as like a funny joke, was like, "Oh, you should play Dark Souls. It'll be funny." And so she started playing Dark Souls and was apologizing when she started playing. She was apologizing because she had to keep looking down at her screen, or sorry, at her controller to see what the buttons were. Right? She would get an instruction that would say, I'm press hold B to run or whatever, and she'd have to look down and be like, what's the B button, right? And like by the end of that game, like she was just incredible at it. And the game really, like, watching her play Dark Souls was like having someone who's really good at like a close reading of a good book and like hearing their thoughts on it chapter by chapter, right? Of a good book that they hadn't read before, and like the way that sort of you learn about that world was exactly suited for her sensibilities. And so like that was sort of how I approached that game when I first started playing it. I guess so. I played Dark Souls 2 before Dark Souls, because about when I would have purchased Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2 was just coming out, and also the fact that the Dark Souls Prepare to Die edition, I learned to my chagrin after like getting it as a gift because I asked for it, because I was like, yeah, I definitely want all the DLC, that I got it and it has a PEGI rating. It doesn't have not an MPAA rating. Like, it's literally it's only available in European markets, the like Xbox 360 version of Dark Souls Prepare to Die, which is just like wild to me. Like, there's some part of that international licensing that I don't understand. Where are you, kitty? Just on the stairs yelling at me? Okay. There's probably more food in your food thing if you just go look at it. So I would be like very shocked if this game turned out to be very frustrating to me. Other things. There is a part of Dark Souls 2 that really frustrated me. I like stopped playing Dark Souls 2 in the Shrine of Amana, which, if you don't know about the Shrine of Amana, it has a lot, like there's a lot of water, and there are a bunch of sort of ranged casters, and I was playing with like a sort of carry a big fuck off guts sword character, and I had no ranged abilities whatsoever, and so like slogging through the water after ranged things was like very annoying, especially because, I mean, to some extent From Software agreed with me that it was annoying because they patched it. They patched the tracking ability of the sorcerers on their magic attacks to be worse, so that it was easier to avoid them. Previously, like especially if you were anywhere near the path, like you would just have to roll and have a high enough adaptability stat that your roll would have enough iframes to basically just iframe under the magic attacks. because they tracked so well that like it was hard to roll out of the side, like to roll to the side of them. And it was just like, it was just too annoying. There was I think I got to the boss at the end of Shrine of Amana once. Right before the boss, there's an enemy invasion with like a powerful mage in the middle of water with like 4 or 5 mages, like of the normal mage enemies around them in this like arena full of water. And you can sort of kite the invasion back to the nearest bonfire, but like it's still pretty annoying. And there are plenty of like, you know, homing crystal soul mass or whatever that just, you know, one shot you. I mean, I think also part of that was that I probably had a big like fuck off gut sword and then no armor, and then like it's like, oh yeah, I have, you know, I have no poise or ability. Like I just get interrupted. I have this big, strong, slow attack, but I can be interrupted by anyone. Like, you know, so in retrospect, like some of that was on me. But that's like that's a game that immediately came to mind when I was like, have I ever been annoyed by a game? I was annoyed by Grow Home, but that's mostly because my computer couldn't handle it. That like I wanted to play it, and my computer was just chugging along. My old laptop before I had like a machine that could actually stream. Yeah, there were definitely several games that I played that it wasn't even, you know, even when I was playing on my old laptop, if I was streaming Dark Souls on my Xbox, the computer could barely keep up with it. And I was also using a potato capture card at that point. And just forget like trying to stream and run it on my computer. My computer had what I would call an exciting safety feature, which is that the CPU would overheat in a lot of those instances, which fine, whatever. But then with like, oh man, this is a real tough nut to crack. With like no warning, it would just shut clean off. I assume like it had overheated enough, and then just without warning, it would be like you've overheated your CPU. It's dangerous. So we're just gonna just shut the whole thing down. That was like pretty frustrating, and one of the things that led to me when I got a new computer, getting one that could actually stream, which, you know, making a list of like things you want in a laptop. It's like, oh, I want some word processing capability. I want to browse the net. It's like, all right. So your current bill is sitting at $200. And it's like, and I want it to be a streaming machine. It's like, all right, and now you need to spend, you know, at least $1,000. Oh, come on, no. So this is the only consideration. If I had a VR rig, I actually, this is you know, laptop graphics cards can't handle VR, but this one's allegedly specifically can. I wonder if I'm just going about this in the wrong way. Okay, see, something like that where it's like, if I stretched from like pointing straight down at the rock that I'm currently standing on to pointing straight up, that like the danger of swinging in a big way is you don't have room to swing. But if you just go straight up, it's like I don't actually have a ton of control over which way my arms are gonna swing my hammer here. So that's a little dangerous. Ooh, there's a new ContraPoints video out. I am excited. ContraPoints does really great work, and she lives in Baltimore. If I had to recommend like a starting ContraPoints video, it's tricky, right? Because a lot of times she's looking at like parts of sort of what I would call the internet culture war, right? Or the culture war in general, and its interface with the internet. So like, you know, it's like, what's the first ContraPoints video I'd tell my mom to watch, right? I don't know. I think if you understand sort of what I'd call the 4chan question, are traps gay? Her video entitled, in quotes, "Are traps gay?" that like talks about a lot of things, including like why the question itself is like just bad and toxic, among other things. I mean, she talks about it for like half an hour. That would be up there. Like, if you know anything about Jordan Peterson, I think there's a Jordan Peterson video. I don't really know anything about Jordan Peterson, but from what I learned there, like it seemed like a good take, some hot takes from what I'd call, I don't know what I'd call that part of YouTube. It's like a decent fraction of the media that I consume is on YouTube, like audiovisual media. Whoop. It was interesting because like I definitely got up there, and then I was literally, like, the way that I got up there, I was stuck and could not move my hammer without falling. So like there are definitely wrong ways and right ways to get up this tunnel. I'm considering just kind of like going for it, and then like I might end up ending the stream. Like it'll increase my chances that I fall in a very like shitty way, but like I'm just at this point I'm not like clever enough with how this game works to figure out how to get up here. So like let's introduce some variance, baby. Oh, too much variance. Dangerous amount of variance. I like how I was like, the next time I have a catastrophic drop, I'm just going to close the stream. And then I've just been kind of putzing around at this mineshaft area ever since then. Come on, look at that. I should be able to claw on that. Riveting content. Smash that like button. I joke about smashing that like button, but like, so close. Again, sort of frustrated by my my mouse situation. I know I didn't spend a lot of time on Kitty Horrorshow. I think their games are great from the ones that I played. Their one game that costs money, Anatomy, which is like at least partially about a house, and not like a spooky, you know, the Winchester house or whatever, but like just a suburban house. It's one of the scariest horror games I've played, and it's $4. I would highly recommend getting it. I haven't played enough of Kitty Horrorshow's other stuff to say whether it's worth supporting them on Patreon or whatever, but they have, you know, 24 games that they've released for free, so you can probably figure it out. In general, I feel like maybe not the median person who's watching a YouTube Let's Play, but anyone who's watching my YouTube Let's Plays can probably afford to do a little more to like support the content that they consume. if that's a thing that they do. Like, I consume a shit ton of internet content and content in general, but most of the other content, like, there's already a system in place for making sure that those people don't starve to death, and I think that's the case for a lot of creators online, or they're being supported by like YouTube's ad model or whatever, which they change at a whim. I don't know how many YouTube adpocalypses have happened, but I mean, there's a reason why people go to places like Patreon. And even Patreon now, I feel like there was something at the end of 2018 where the heads of Patreon were like, we have exciting new things on the horizon that sure sounded like the kind of corporate thing of like, we have exciting ideas on the horizon that get away from us just being a place where people can support the people whose content they like. Let's get away from that and add in some features that will increase metrics. I mean, when you get it down to it, like, corporations are made up of people, but corporations as a whole are sort of large non-human entities that oftentimes, due to the incentive structures of their environment, like, their goals do not actually perfectly align with the goals of, say, the people who like their products or whatever. So, like, I'm not even going so far as to actually place blame on anyone in this situation. I'm just saying that, like, we currently live in a world where it is possible for you to give money essentially directly, regularly, to someone making something that you like who lives, across the world. And that if you can afford to do that, like, you probably should. I mean, if you can afford to, buy malaria nets, you probably should. But those are two different spending buckets, I think, for most people. Supporting my favorite YouTube creator on Patreon, supporting my favorite podcast on Patreon, versus literal saving lives. And if not, I support those being in different buckets. Like, if you have a little disposable income, I don't know what the current measurement is for the Against Malaria Foundation. It's like somewhere on the order of $5,000 or $10,000 worth of donation is approximately how much to, like, literally save the life of a child. This isn't like for $1 a day. Like, Against Malaria Foundation actually cares about whether their interventions work. And given that, making sure that a bunch of people don't have malaria. What was the point I was making of this? That, like, if you look at your finances and you're like, I'm spending a lot of money on coffee and Patreons or whatever, that, like, if you ever feel like you're not making big enough an impact in the real world, and you have like an extra $5,000 over the course of a year or so, you can just save a human life. Like, that's nice. And then, like, I don't know, whatever shitty things happen after that, you at least have that's like just for some definition of definitely true. No. Oh, I was talking about Patreon support. I was like, how did I get onto the Against Malaria Foundation and the idea of targeting charitable giving in a way where it will produce an actual measurable impact on the world? Like I said, smash that like button. 1 like equals 1 prayer equals 1 bed net. Not really. Alright. think I might sign off for now. This game's fun. Yeah, I'm just not... either I'm not getting something about this chimney, or like I have some other ideas, but I just don't have the sort of alacrity with a mouse in its current configuration to even attempt them, even as like a for the lulz joke, but I'll lose everything. So I think I'll stop here. Set up my John Henry. Thanks. Probably just Eric for watching. Thanks for anyone who watches this after the fact. I'll probably split this into 2 YouTube videos, since I played a Kitty Horrorshow game and then decided not to stream another like 20 Kitty Horrorshow games, but instead play Getting Over It. This was fun. I'll probably do more random streaming stuff. I had promised myself, I had a few ideas for like games that I could stream, but I promised myself I wouldn't do any of them until I had set up my witness talk. And so now that I've finished and given my 2.5 hour long witness talk, sort of a lot of my other personal projects can come to the fore. And streaming more games is one of them. Since I really haven't done any steady streaming since Hollow Knight last year. And I guess the last thing I'll say is I'm super pumped for the Hollow Knight sequel. Team Cherry, please charge more than $15. Like, it is truly absurd that how good and large Hollow Knight is for $15. And I played it before any of the 4 free DLCs came out. Anyway, good night, everyone. Remember to smash that like button. Have a good one. Oh god, so much of this.